Well, here we are, another beautiful day, time to make a video. So, since the last time I seen yous and talked to yous, I washed and cleaned the white walls. I do it once a year. It's an annual tradition. Once, and only once. Trying to find that Wesley's white wall cleaner is a problem. Nobody carries it anymore. People got to start buying more white walls. All right, well, since the last time, not too much has changed. I washed and polished the car. Of course, it don't look it, but it is what it is. And I'm ready to start the summer off. Car's washed, clean, and the white walls are clean, so it's a good thing. Dismount and mount all new tires and new tubes on the car. They were all pretty well shot when I got it. And now I got 4 good ones and 2 spares that are decent, but they'll work if I need them. I think last time we talked about the doors, and I talked about the handles and what have you. You know, this one is chrome, this one is actually nickel polished. I said in that other video that they were silver, and I made a mistake. I got tongue-tied and talking too much to myself. But yeah, they're actually nickel. They usually use a lot of nickel, polished nickel, and it looked like chrome. You'll see that on a lot of the old Chryslers and Cadillacs and stuff. It used to be nickel. I called it silver. It was silver. I'd be taking them off and turning them in for money. When I first got the car, it wasn't running. I had to drag it home. It didn't take too long to get it running. About a day and a half. I put new points, condenser, rotor, spark plugs, and cleaned out the fuel system, dropped the tank, cleaned that out, put it back up, and she started right up. And the problem was it looked like a mosquito machine. It was blowing so much smoke out the back. So talked to a few people. What little knowledge I had, I figured somebody said valve guides, and I pulled the cover off, and so I said, okay, let's get into it. And I pulled the cylinder head off, and I sent the head out, and I had all new valves, intake, exhaust, had the seats replaced, had the valve guides replaced, had the cylinder head shaved, and I put it all back together. And she started right up, and it smoked like a pig. Still smoking. I had taken a compression check, and I was pretty sure that the motor was sound. I mean, in each of the cylinders, I was only about 5 pounds off on each cylinder. But I measured the top of the cylinders because I had the head off. And I tried moving the pistons. They all seemed to be seated in there nicely, but it wound up that I had to take the engine out, have the new rings and piston, and it was bored out 30 over. Once that was done, got all back together, she ran good. She don't smoke no more. Of course, a good deal of money for that, but had to do it. And that's about it on the motor. The motor's fresh. She runs good, starts good. I just put another set of clean plugs in there. Last year I had a clean set of plugs, and this year I put another set in. So I keep changing them once a year. It's like oil changes on this thing. Yeah, I put another set of points. The distributor has its dual points, so I put them in, and it's been running really good so far. So I'm ready, waiting for the car shows to happen. I enjoy having the car out and talking to people. I especially enjoy talking to the younger people and trying to get them interested. I mean, I let them jump in the car and sit behind the wheel. They put the hat and the machine gun and take pictures and all. But they need to get involved because us older crowd, we're dying out. The cars are all going up for sale. I mean, you go to these malls where they have cars and these classic car places where they're selling cars, They're loaded with cars. They just don't have enough people. You know, old people are dying off, and they're just letting their cars go up for sale. Got to get the younger guys out there. They're the next generation. They got to take over. Got to get more involved. You see them, they get involved mostly with the 60s. They like the old from 62 to 72. That's what seems to be taking over now. You don't see the old cars anymore. And I'd like to see more younger people get involved with the older cars. When people come up to me and we talk about old cars, I mean, you know, they see this thing and they say, oh, a Buick. Well, you don't see very many of them. That's because there's not very many of them. And I call it a class, you know, I go to classic car shows. And I'm seeing all 60s and 50s. And I think 30 was the year. The best cars I thought for looks is from the 28 to maybe 48. And then I like all the cars in between. I don't care what they are, whether Ford, Buick, Chevrolet, it doesn't matter. I like the older classic cars. When you start getting into the 60s and the 70s, I grew up with the 60s and the 70s, so I've seen all those cars. I worked on all those cars. But the earlier cars, they had more class to them, I think. They just look neater, and I enjoy working on them. Get the car running was my main objective when I first got it. And, I had a few friends that also work on old cars and stuff. They came over, give me a hand, and like I said, to get it running, it didn't take much. A set of new plugs and points, condenser, cap, rotor, wires. But she did start up. I mean, I under the impression before I got it, the guy that had it, he was out in Chicago, and he passed away, and he gave the car to his granddaughter, and the granddaughter and husband really didn't want the car, and they couldn't get it running, I guess, and so she called her father, who lives down here in Jersey, and she wanted to sell the car, and he wanted her father to sell the car for her. It was left to her. So the guy drove out and trailered it back and put it out on a corner lot. And like I said, I had a doctor's visit that day, and I was going to go to the doctor's, and I took the back roads. And I stopped at a red light and looked across the street, and there the car was sitting there out on the, it didn't have a for sale sign on it, but it was sitting on a corner. And it's a lot where it used to be car sales. And so on the way back from the doctor, I said, I'm going to stop in there. And I did. And I talked to the guy. He said the car was for sale. He told me, oh yeah, it runs. But we went out there. He couldn't get it started. So. But I bought the car because the engine was turning over. When the engine was turning over, I knew at that point I could get it running. So like I said, I bought the car at that point, drug it home, and within a day or two, I had the car up and running. But it smoked real bad. And that meant the rings were probably locked tight. If I kept probably put that mineral oil, that miracle oil in there, I might have been able to free it up, but the motor had to come out, and that was a problem with me. I had no room to really do that kind of work. I pulled the cylinder head off. I did that in the garage, single car garage, but when I came to pulling the motor, and especially a straight 8, I didn't have anything that could hold it up. The engine, to hold the engine on, I didn't have anything that could hold that engine up. It would have just tipped over. So it had to go out and had to be bored out 30 over and fit it for new pistons. And while they were at it, they did the bearings. I had the Babbitt bearings done. So, and I had done the cylinder head, so the engine's fresh, it's complete. So I'm happy with the way it runs. This car here and other ones like it, if you buy it and put it in the garage and don't drive it anymore, when you go to take it out 20 years from now, you know, it squeaks and rattles all over the place. You got to drive these cars. they were made to be driven. And if you just leave them sit, you'll have more problems than you would if you were driving it all the time. I did buy it right, I know that. I got a very good deal when I bought it. And it's just all the stuff you do with the car. You maintain it properly. And a lot of stuff I had to buy just because they were missing. And parts are very hard to find for this car and very expensive when you do find them. So if you need them, you got to buy them. So I'm looking forward to this summer. This is going to be a good summer for me. I had to make a lot of shows this year and show it off. What the hell? I put all the work into it, I might as well. People don't know that back in the 30s, they had air conditioning. All right, keep an eye on my windshield here, and I'll show you my air conditioning. Here's my air conditioning. Yep, that's my air right there. Keeps me nice and cool. The faster I go, the cooler I get. You say your feet are cold, or rather warm? I got an answer for that too. That does my feet, and this does the rest of me. So I got all the air conditioning I need. There was a bug that came in. I had the windshield up, and one of them big it was not a horsefly or something, but it had big wings, and it flew right in and hit the seat alongside of me. And good thing my wife wasn't with me, because she would have screamed bloody murder. It was huge, it was big. And he flew right in and knocked himself out when he hit the seat and laid there. I had to pull over and open the door and grab him by his wings and threw him out. That must have been something back in the day. You know, when you were driving along, you had that windshield up and bugs would come in. The other one, for the feet there's a screen in there. So, you know, only little gnats or something could get in through there. But when you had the windshield up, it was a big horsefly, or not a fly.